As a lifelong New Orleans Saints fan, I'm sure I'm not alone when I tell you that we're frustrated with the post-Sean Payton and Drew Brees era. First, with the Dennis Allen hire, the Derek Carr signing, and the constant kicking of the can down the road when it comes to salary cap purposes, many of us want a clean slate, including the removal of Carr as their quarterback. However, no matter what, Carr maintains a large fan base that believes he's an all-pro level quarterback who's just had some bad luck, bad rosters, and not enough support. Either way, he remains one of the most polarizing players in football, and the answer as to what kind of QB he is lies in the middle, and the truth is while he's serviceable, a team more than likely won't be playing deep into the playoffs with Carr under center. As most Saints fans know, having to manipulate the salary cap every offseason just to field a team has become tradition under GM Mickey Loomis. When competing for championships it was understandable, and even when the team still had Michael Thomas and younger versions of Alvin Kamara, Tyrann Mathieu, Demario Davis, and Cam Jordan, fans understood that finding the right quarterback post-Drew Brees with that talented roster could still give the Saints at least a good enough roster to compete for an NFC South title. Enter Carr, who signed a 4-year, $150 million contract in March of 2023. Logical fans were not upset necessarily with the signing of the former Raider, but with the cost of the contract amid the team's salary cap troubles. Part of the outrage stemmed from the fact that head coach Dennis Allen stood on the table for this signing, as he was the coach who originally drafted Carr in 2014. It gave the impression that Allen wanted to prove that he was right all along, overpricing Carr in the process. Saints fans didn't have a problem as much with Carr as they did with the hefty price tag he came along with, and the tunnel vision that Dennis Allen had in what seemed to be a two-man crusade to prove a point. In 2 seasons with the Saints, Carr has gone 14-13 and been injured in both seasons. Now age 33, which is not necessarily old by quarterback standards but surely not a young man anymore, Carr has put up respectable stats, with 40 touchdowns and only 13 interceptions on 68% passing. Carr fans will undoubtedly point to these numbers and quickly say that Saints faithful should appreciate the quarterback they have and continue to embrace him as their cornerstone quarterback of the future. His detractors will simply point to Carr's entire body of work, say that stats are misleading, and that Carr's efforts have led to mostly underwhelming results. When it comes down to it, the Saints have a big decision ahead of them contractually. More than $50 million over the salary cap. It's now decision time for the Saints. So what are the implications of each move the Saints can possibly make? Here we examine each potential impact on the Saints' future and what they ultimately should do. Option number 1, Saints keep Carr and restructure. Carr has a $10 million roster bonus due in March that is fully guaranteed. On the day that is paid, his 2025 salary of $30 million will also become fully guaranteed. So Carr is set to make $40 million in cash in 2025 if the team keeps him. Carr's cap hit in 2025 would then be $51.5 million if they don't alter it in any way. The Saints rarely leave cap hits alone because they are always scrambling to be cap compliant. So they could lower it by turning $38.7 million of that compensation into a new signing bonus to prorate it over 5 years. That would lower his cap hit to about $19.25 million. We're using round numbers, shaving more than $30 million off the Saints' total cap commitments, at least for 2025. Option 2, Saints cut Carr. Carr is going to turn 34 this offseason and missed several games this season due to injury. Even so, he doesn't look like he's lost a step with similar numbers across the board to his previous seasons. If, however, a new coach comes in and wants a change at QB, the Saints could release Carr. It would be pretty tough on their cap situation, though. For starters, the Saints owe Carr the $10 million roster bonus in March 2025 whether he is on the team or not. The Saints have paid Carr $60 million in the last 2 seasons but only accounted for $19.9 million. The difference of $41.1 million will need to be accounted for if Carr leaves the roster via release or trade. When you add the $41.1 million to the $10 million, Carr's dead cap hit would be more than $51 million. That's essentially equal to what his cap hit would be if he was on the team, $51.5 million. A post-June 1 release would mean Carr's cap hit counts until the beginning of June. However, it would lower this year's salary number by that same $30 million and probably signal full trust in either Spencer Rattler or some other quarterback. It would leave New Orleans without an experienced signal caller, unless they signed a cheap veteran in free agency. Realistic options could include Jacoby Brissett, Taylor Heineke, or Drew Lock. Others like Justin Fields and Sam Darnold will draw larger dollars. Option 3. Trade Carr. As unrealistic as this may sound, considering Carr has a no-trade clause, the right situation could potentially entice both he and the incoming team due to the fact that Carr would be a short-term rental for that team. If the Raiders miss out on Shedeur Sanders, they may find Carr a less expensive option than someone like a Sam Darnold. This wouldn't solve the salary cap problem, though. The Saints have paid Carr $60 million in the last 2 seasons, but only accounted for $19.9 million. The difference of $41.1 million will need to be accounted for if Carr leaves the roster via trade. Trading him would only lower his cap hit from $51.50 to $41.10 million, but perhaps a deal could be worked out between the Saints and the team Carr chooses to be traded to. This scenario still seems unlikely, but you never know. The best path forward for the Saints ultimately is to probably perform some sort of restructure with Carr, as it would save them as much on the salary cap as cutting him. In addition, even if they cut Carr, they'd need a backup quarterback, and Carr would be the most accomplished one of the bunch. Overall, the Saints need to know that they need to move off of Carr sooner rather than later, whether he's on the roster or not. So overall, the Saints can figuratively move on from Carr by placing on him the bench, allowing a young talent like Spencer Rattler to grow while having a veteran mentor like Carr behind him for one more season until he's off the books, allowing both Carr and the Saints to move on from each other amicably in 2026.